Like, the dude got killed in cold blood. He was screaming, begging for his life.
And after dropping him on the table, brushed his teeth and left the area. Now, 5 high or correctional inmate.
I didn't react to it well.
It's hard to watch this McDougal Walker correctional inmate carry a fellow prisoner's body and drop it on a table. We have learned the inmate who died is 26-year-old Kenneth Montaner Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell was at McDougal Walker, a level 4/5 high or maximum security facility for fourth-degree assault of a pair of victims under 18 in Meriden. Police say the inmate carrying Bruce Campbell was 31-year-old Kyle McKinnon, in prison for an assault conviction. According to McKinnon's arrest warrant affidavit, he admitted to investigators he killed Bruce Campbell, didn't know why he did it, and after dropping him on the table, brushed his teeth and left the area.
Now, I heard about this homicide taking place, and I thought it was fascinating to hear from an inmate who heard it happening. But before you feel too bad for this guy, the victim of this inmate who continues to violate protection order after protection order, she reached out to me about him and shared some information that will just boil your blood. And I'll share that with you in a little bit after the parole hearing. I wouldn't feel too bad for this guy. And anyways, let's jump into his parole hearing, and I'll unpack it with details, including many of his lies that he gives the parole board at the end.
Jacob Rodriguez, 426210. Good afternoon.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration for a parole application for Jacob Rodriguez, 426-210. Excuse me. He is serving a sentence of 8 years of execution suspended and 36 months with 3 years of probation. There's 2 counts for violation of protective order, violation of probation, and burglary second. As of today's record, reflective parole eligibility date of March 3rd, 2025. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the following programs. Domestic violence, voices, and tier 2. Utilizing a statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system scores, the offender's overall score for considering falls to high range. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you think you should be granted parole. You may begin.
You had something in your hand. Did you want to read that?
Yes, please.
Please get going.
I was told that I wrote this pertaining to a question. I guess they said that you guys would ask the first question about whether or not I would be a good candidate for parole.
Why do you deserve parole, sir?
Yeah, so I believe that I could be a good candidate for parole because I'm willing to show and prove that regardless of the things that I went through throughout my sentence, such as I had and went through
Chair. Yeah, these violation of protective orders is something we always take very serious.
Yes.
But do you know what it means to violate a protective order?
Yes, I basically didn't listen to what the judge told me to do, and I understand that that was a direct disrespect to the judge
And
and
now
to the
what?
victims.
Now
And yeah,
what?
I understand. Yeah.
So what is the problem with that? I don't understand. If you're not supposed to see somebody or be with somebody or contact somebody, why would you do it?
I mean, me and the protected party, she didn't want the protective order on, and me and her were in a relationship. But you know, regardless, it doesn't excuse me breaking the law.
Well,
And
the order would have to be taken away. It would have to be done. You know, she'd have to go.
yeah,
remove it.
she
It
did.
wasn't removed.
She
Your
tried.
responsibility to stay away.
She might not
Yeah.
have wanted the order served, and she sure didn't want to be beaten.
That's right.
I
That would
didn't.
have been my next thing.
No, I understand that. But I didn't beat her. I didn't.
So the neighbor called the police just because you were visiting?
I was with her. She wrote a letter to the prosecutor and everything. But I mean, regardless, we did get into fights, and there's no
and regardless,
excuse.
you still broke the violation. You still violated the
Exactly.
protective order. That's the bottom
Yeah,
line.
and I
And you
agree
did,
with that.
and you
And I
did get into the
apologize.
house. You did get into the house and beat up the kids for a PlayStation.
Yeah, that was.
I mean-
they weren't. I understand. Listen, I got into a fight with those. They were my age. I didn't beat up no kids. That I was. Me and that kid were 18 years old, and the altercation was between me and the kid. But regardless, there's no excuse for what I did. I did have a serious anger issue, and I did unpack that, and I didn't take that lightly. When I went to Voices and when I went to domestic violence, I took those classes very seriously, and they did, you know, even in the beginning, how you said that my behavior was concerning. I did take a time to really understand what I was going through in this sentence. And after, like, when the person got killed in the cell next to me, that happened after all of the situations happened beforehand. And I understand that what I did was unexcusable. I understand that completely.
Absolutely.
But going through these situations in this jail and in Bridgeport Correctional have been something that I could never, I see life in a different perspective. I would never sit there and put anybody in a predicament to ever have to feel like victimized, because I know what it is to be victimized as well. So I do understand that. And me going to these classes, I didn't take these classes as a joke. I came into this facility, even with the Priya situation. I still went to these classes and I still took everything serious. I didn't play around. I understand what I did was serious. I understand that I took this sentence very serious. And I did make these active changes.
So tell me the things that you're doing to change.
So I am trying to go to school. I'm trying to go into I just did tier 2. I'm trying to do more programs, but they told me that I can't do any programs in here except for school. So I'm trying to get back into school, but they said it's a waiting list. I have to wait for that. But other than that, I'm trying to listen to NA. I'm trying to do stuff like that to be deal with my recovery.
You were in tier 4.
Yeah, well, I did tier
That's
2.
that's your program. What happened?
Well, the counselor, Ms. Rogers, she told me that tier 2 would be a better option for me. And I've been on methadone.
I think you were removed from there, from tier 4, because you got a ticket.
Yeah, but
So it wasn't because the counselor did anything. You got a ticket.
I understand that. I got the ticket for having contraband headphones and then arguing with the correctional officer after that. But after that, I went and did tier 2 right after that. And I talked to the counselor. She said that, I didn't do good that day in tier 4. She gave me the option. She said it would be better for me to just do tier 2. And then I stood in the program block. I stood in building 6. I stood in an environment that's still, they have the top program. They have the meeting every morning. I'm there. I tried. I'm glad you took tier 2, but your history reflected somebody who probably should have taken tier 4 and been in tier 4 and really done that work, more extensive work on you to better prepare you for coming out. Because that's the other thing that I don't really see here. Yeah, I don't see a really good release plan for you. Well, that was my thing, is I was gonna go back to BH care that I was doing before this anyways. If I was to get the opportunity, I was gonna go and do more behavioral health. I was not gonna just go home and not do anything. I really have an action plan with my mother and my aunt and my sisters. I have a good support system. I'll be able to stay in the program. I'll be living with them, so I'll have a structured environment. And right there, Aina and Sonia, I'll be at BH Care. They do both dual diagnosis. So I'll still be on the MAT program for the drug.
When did you complete tier 2?
I completed it about a couple months ago. I can't tell you the dates right now.
Why did you get an intox ticket in March?
What do you mean? And before I got sentenced?
In March of 2024. Last year.
Yeah, that was after the guy had got killed. It was a rough time, and I felt susceptible to the environment, and I really didn't take anything serious at that time. I was traumatized, to be honest. Like, the dude got killed in cold blood. He was screaming, begging.
You didn't take anything serious? You saw the guy get killed, you didn't take anything serious?
No, like, as in before that. So I didn't react to it well. But it took me a moment. I talked to the psychiatrist. I talked to people about it, and I got the help that I needed. I got put on a methadone program. I made the changes.
I'm really kind of just struggling with some of this, to be honest with you. The whole thing about being removed from tier 4, which I believe something you really need.
But right after that, I can do PH care. Right after I did tier 2, and I'm willing to still do other programs once I, if I get the opportunity. PH care is a real intensive outpatient. And if I have to, I'll go to rehab if it constitutes what it. I'll stay in a halfway house if I have to.
I'm gonna pass it over to my colleagues. I'm kind of struggling with this at this point. But I'm gonna pass it on to my colleagues and hear what they have to say before I make my decision on this. Okay. Thank you.
Panel member Barry. Now, so the insulting DR that you got in July of last year, what was your conflict with the CO?
When she gave me the contraband ticket for the headphones, I didn't think, because I was having trouble trying to get on the wall phone. There were a lot that were kind of running the phones, and I couldn't be able to get on the phone, and she took the tablet headphones, so I really got frustrated with the fact that I couldn't be able to use the phone until I could get another pair of headphones, and I just didn't react well, and then I knew that I was going to get kicked out of the program, so I just didn't react well.
That's been a pattern for you, I would say.
But I did.
Can I finish? Can you let me finish? It's been a pattern for you. On December 28th of 2021, you were released following a domestic violence incident with a full no contact order. And within 1 hour of your release, you had called the victim. By July of 2023, there were 3 full no contact orders and 2 additional orders out of Waterbury. So this wasn't just an incident of not abiding by what a judge said. You were repeatedly the subject of protective orders and concerning behavior involving the victim in this case. So your choice to insult the correctional officer who is hardworking and they're doing a very difficult job with, slurs that highlight that she is a female in a very male environment. And then you sit here and you tell us that your support system is your mom, your aunt, your sisters. So what do you think the women in your life would say to you about your choice to be disrespectful to a correctional officer, a hardworking woman just trying to do her job?
Yeah, I did hear it from my mother when I got the ticket. So I do understand that. My mother did reprimand me for that. I understand that. And I yeah,
so your
I
takeaway,
feel the same way about that.
Your takeaway from the Tier 2 program is that drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad.
No, that's not my takeaway.
That's what you told Officer Williams when you were interviewed. As well as physical voices, you learned everyone is a victim. Tier 2, drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad.
And that surprised me because you have treatment programs at Stonington, Lebanon Pines, MCC, more Rushford. So it surprised me that your big takeaway from Tier 2 was that drugs were bad.
Drugs are bad.
I thought you already knew that.
That's not my real take. That's not my takeaway. My takeaway from these programs honestly have been the only thing that's kept me alive. And honestly, me going through these programs aren't something that I take. Yeah, I had an issue with me and Mr. Williams. It wasn't like an issue, but I didn't feel like I should. I don't know. Me and him had a little fallout in the beginning when I was trying to explain what happened. But
Officer Williams is, a premier parole officer here at the board, and he does his job quite well. It seems to be a theme, though, for you, Mr. Rodriguez, your conflict with other people and your inability to, work through and have and maintain positive relationships.
But I have made that change though, and I haven't been like that since these programs. I haven't caused any issues.
When were you interviewed by Williams? It had to have been in the last month.
I just lost my uncle though. It was not a perfect time for me to answer any questions to someone that I was dealing with a loss. I couldn't talk to him at the time.
Well, Mr.
I just didn't give him an extensive answer.
You began your opening listing all the people in your life that you lost in a short time that led you to abuses. So,
no, that's not what I said. I said my opening statements. I said that I had a dude lost his life next when I had messed up and did that.
That's right. It's already been a long day. So you're right.
No, I understand. I completely understand. You guys are right. I do
We're done with the
understand.
question. So at this point, we're going to discuss and we ask you not to interrupt.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I think Mr. Armenian still has ways to go. I do not have control today. I for institutional.
That he is taking responsibility for his mental health needs, that he has a plan to resume that care when he's back, and all of that's very positive. I imagine that probation will have him complete additional domestic violence programming. But, you know, he was unemployed, he was on probation, he was using drugs daily, and his behavior was something he didn't have good control over. So all of that is very concerning, given he was serving out the probationary period for a burglary second. Where are you, panelists? Barry?
I would just add that he rates out high in terms of racial proclivities. I would also add that there has been displays of violence, right? So all those things coupled together really does really is part of himself.
Well, he has about a year left on his sentence, which he did indicate he feels it was a fair sentence, just the 3 years to serve. And there's things like new thoughts in the city, maybe getting back into school so that he can make some progress there. So there's still ways that he can benefit and prepare himself to be successful when he is released. So I have nature and circumstance, depends on probation, and poor institutional adjustment.
That's fine.
Do we want evidence of offender change? No?
No.
Okay. So in the matter of Jacob Rodriguez, inmate number 426210, there is a motion to deny parole for the following reasons. Your offenses were committed while you were on probation, the nature and circumstances of your offenses, and your poor institutional adjustment. Do I have a second? All in favor? Motion carries, parole is denied.
This concludes the parole for Jacob Rodriguez 426-210.
Okay, and that was a nice smackdown by the parole board. And, you know, with the information that I have, you know, the victim shared, she said, man, dude, do you have information on this case? I said, actually, I was working on this parole hearing when you emailed me. So that's just a crazy coincidence. Yeah, oftentimes I'll go through parole hearings, then I'll edit it, put it on my desktop in raw format. You have to cut it down, you have to do words, then you do the research. So it's a process. I had it there. And I said, yeah, I do have this case. And she said, well, I'm the victim of the case, and I was watching it live, and I just saw those crazy eyes. Did you guys see those crazy eyes? I saw those crazy eyes. And, you know, one thing that he did, in addition to continuing to violate protective order after protective order, was this dude stole her mother's ashes from right off her neck. It was in a necklace. Threw it to the side of the road like garbage, and she never got it back. She says that he beat her up times for no good reason and no remorse. And I want to tell you that there is never a good reason to beat up someone, to beat up your woman. There's no such thing as even good reason. The fact that he would lay hands on you. I'm really happy that you were not sitting there talking on his behalf. There are some that can't, that will still talk on behalf, make excuses for the monster that does it. And this monster, he is right where he belongs. And the arrest that when he lied and he said, they were my age. No, they weren't. He was 21. One was 18. One was 16. One was younger. And I'll get into that. in a minute. But he also mentioned he was involved in a Priya incident, and so.
Why is this McGraw? I'm gonna get it working because it's not. Because I have girl. That's not right.
So that answer is interesting to me. Because in all of the accounts that
because it's Connecticut's progressive agenda to try to find reasons or excuses for those who commit horrific crimes to have a chance at freedom. I'll tell you, this is somewhat of a treat to hear Michael do something other than make excuses for the worst of the worst. It is surprising, and we're about to hear it. So with that, let's jump in.
Stephen Therian, 7159.
Thank you very much. So this is a public hearing in accordance with Chapter 14, Freedom of Information Act, Connecticut General Statute 1-200, which applies to this procedure. Mr. Therian, if you have any questions concerning the above, please bring your questions to the attention of the panel at this time. Again, this is a public hearing. Do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Thank you. And are you willing to proceed with the hearing at this time?
Yes.
Thank you. As previously indicated, this is a Public Act 23-169 hearing. It's being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Stephen Therian, inmate number 071590. Mr. Therian is serving a sentence of 17 years to life for murder and robbery first degrees. There is a commitment put in place. There is also an accountability plan in place that is reviewed and shows the completed program, substance and behavioral health programming. The offender's overall score, range. Mr. Therian, this is now your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole in the event.
Good morning, board members. I'd like to express my remorse for my actions that led to the victim's death. I'm sorry for the pain I caused the family. Through education and participation in city yoga over the last 14 years, I don't believe I'm the same person I was when I was 19 years old. Studying child psychology, abnormal psychology, psychology of adjustment, educational psychology, human behavior in small group, psychology of adjustment. I believe I've come to understand myself and where I went wrong as an adolescent and a teenager. And I don't plan on committing any more crimes if I'm ever released. And that's about.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Therian. In preparation for today's hearing, this panel has reviewed your file extensively to include the following materials: police reports, pre-sentence investigation, court transcripts, your Department of Correction file that contains programs, disciplinary reports, and work and school evaluations. We've read letters of support and the summary of your interview with the parole officer, as well as the memorandum submitted by your attorney and your previous letters to the board, as well as your autobiography. We are well versed in your case, but have some additional questions. When we are done with our questions, we will ask the Office of Victim Services to facilitate any input, and then the state's attorney and your attorney will have the opportunity to provide statements. At the conclusion of the statements, the panel will deliberate, and we will be prepared to give you our decision here today. Do you have any questions before we begin?
No, ma'am.
All right, well, we will begin with my colleague, Mr. Polk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Mr. Therian.
Good morning.
So why did you commit this murder?
I was just confused. Just mistakes. This time, there's no justification. It's just responsible for the death of the victim, and I have nobody to blame but myself.
So that answer is interesting to me. Because in all of the accounts that over the past 50 years, they include satanic rituals, the Illuminati, sex cults, group sexuality, profound sexual abuse, vague green faces to kill, substance use, a friend told you to do it. You wish to have gotten out of a difficult relationship with another female at the same time. So are you telling me now, sitting there, that all of those things weren't like, they were things that were manufactured?
I don't wish to reiterate any of the circumstances around why I did. I wish only to take full responsibility for it. I could sit here and talk about the autobiography and what led up to the murder, but I don't want the parole board to think I'm trying to put the blame of the murder on anyone but myself. I had the ability to make a decision, and I made the wrong decisions, and I regret the decision I made. I know the parole board doesn't want to hear defendants full responsibility for his crimes, and that's I like to look at my autobiography as explaining the mitigating circumstances that surrounded what happened back in 1978.
Were you under the color drugs when this offense was committed? When this offense was committed, you were. What were you under the influence of?
I was drinking and smoking marijuana.
That was it at the time.
Pardon me?
So that was it at the time. You were intoxicated and you were during this crime. Smart.
Yes.
Okay. So at the conclusion of the submittal from your attorney states accountability for this murder. I don't know that I've really seen any of that in anything except what you put forth today. So can you help me with exactly how you've taken accountability for this?
Just by expressing that I take full responsibility for this crime, and I am very remorseful for my actions.
So, some of the things that I'm taking a look at, including programming and things like that, in your attorney's brief, your attorney blames the DOC for failure to provide critical treatment, right? Don't you think it had something, everything to do with your conduct? Because I'll tell you that sitting here, right? I've done a lot with 1584s, 2369s, and commutations. So I've seen my fair share of people who have committed murder. And people who come before the board who actually, have a great deal of regret, a great deal of taking responsibility and accountability, have a list of programs that they've been able to accomplish in DOC. Most of them have people who are successful at this have not had a disciplinary report in over 20 years, right? So I'm really having a hard time with that. This is kind of with, mental health type things. So what I'm trying to figure out is, the fingers get pointed at DOC, but I have a mountain of evidence from looking at past cases that it's just not the case that somebody can. And I'm just wondering, is it your inability to stay out of trouble that caused this? Or can you help me here?
Well, all I know is when I've attempted to receive therapy in sex offender treatment, I'm continually told I'm a level 2, and in order to receive therapy, you have to be a level 3 or above. I'm also told that I've been on a waiting list since 2011 for sex offender treatment, which is kind of contradictory. Why he put me at a level 2, I don't know. I should have been at a level 3, so that would open the door for the therapy.
Okay, so I hear that piece, but I didn't hear anything about the DRs. 50 DRs, okay, is a lot of DRs. And you know that once you get a DR, you're not eligible to take programming for a certain period of time, right?
Yes.
So I'm just trying to figure out what might be the case here. Why?
What, the kid for DRs?
Well, you get DRs and then you can't take programming.
Well, DRs since about 1990, I've had had to do with my litigatory activities, which DOC staff in the murder of Warden Kyle Robinson. I made a lot of enemies in the DOC, and they tend to have fun putting crazy, assaultive inmates in my cell, which leads to fights. They put mentally ill people in my cell and then stop their medication, knowing that
I reviewed a lot of documents related to this case. I have researched evidence of papers based upon
find evidence of, right? Out to me how your lack of brain development, your lack of maturity led to you committing this offense.
how your lack of brain development.
no,
How did your lack of maturity lead to you committing this offense?
I have no explanation. I just made some bad decisions, and I regret what I did, and I don't committing any crimes if I am ever released.
Okay. What do you think the victim of this case went through?
Pardon me?
What do you think the victim of this case went through?
You're referring to at the time of the crime?
Yeah.
She was probably horrified.
I mean, there's difference between somebody getting shot in a gunfight, somebody getting choked out with a bandana, right?
Yeah.
What do you think your family went through?
I'm sure that my actions caused a lot of pain for the family, and I regret the pain I caused them.
What do you think your family would?
But we would have experienced the same pain as the victims.
Right? It's taking somebody that's young and wiping them out. Right? They don't get to live their life. Right? You've been able to take very few programs while incarcerated, and we've already discussed that. I talked a little bit about, and I can appreciate that that you. And congratulations to you on your associate's degree. And going through and taking some psychology classes and human behavior and stuff like that. You led to the small groups that you were able to participate in. However, you're in prison for murder, and that murder, you think that handling something like that in a small group is sufficient when it comes to rehabilitation, that we should feel comfortable that if you're released, you're not going to commit any more offenses? In comparison to other people that in DOC that you've seen that have committed murder and gone through a bunch of other programs?
I've gone through a lot of sex offender programs, and starting in 1979 to like 81 or 2. I've gone through all the substance abuse programming that was available at Summers. I was the chairman of the Alcoholics Anonymous for a while. Narcotics Anonymous. I was let out of my cell after reaching prison. I went to the library and got a book on introduction to psychology. It's an endeavor for me to went from a full-time college student at Thames Valley on the street with aspirations to be an engineer, to start accepting life, taking a life. To get into that realm only takes us to the mitigating circumstances, and I let my autobiography and your responses to that deal with that rather than spending the parole board's valuable time with me reiterating the mitigating circumstances surrounding this crime. But
you spent a lot of time in Sita Yoga. It's actually been in there for 15 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to me about what that is.
I get 2 lessons every month that talk about various aspects of the spiritual path of Siddha Yoga. And I've grown to accept God in my heart, in my life. And when I get out, if I ever do, or if I remain in prison for the rest of my life, my priority is to study these lessons and move self-realization. I've come to believe that everything and everyone is God. I love everyone, of the people that are making the decisions in the parole board. I love all my enemies. I might not agree with decisions or what they do, but I love them as a person because it's my belief that I am everyone and everyone is me. Through the study of Siddha Yoga, that individuality is a delusion necessary karma in each incarnation. It's necessary to believe that other people, individuals, but in reality, I am just as much every individual that ever lives. They are me. These are some of the things that I've learned. I couldn't commit self-defense for everybody. everybody is me. It'd be self-destructive to commit crimes against anyone.
Thank you for explaining that to me. I also wanted to point out in the submittal that we got from the attorney, so just so you understand. And then, for me, when it comes to programs, further programs and treatment while incarcerated in cases like this is an absolute must for me. I can't get to suitability, right? Unless I can see programming that was done there, that I can ask questions of to actually gauge offender change. There's alternatives to violence, basic and advanced. There's a whole bunch of other programming there that you can get involved in. The type of questioning and thinking that we can get to actually take a look at what to get us to suitability. That's that's the rough stuff. And then a couple of things I know that in terms of release and that you would want to be a part of a halfway house, and to start things there. And then when it came to employment and such, you were talking about Social Security and stuff like that and getting a part-time job. So I don't know how that all plays in. I'm not somebody who's, that's for the field to figure out, right? However, there's a lot there. And I mean, I read this inside out and backwards on a couple of things, just to try to put everything together. I really hope that you can continue to try to focus on programming that's DOC offered and that can promote actually how you started this hearing today. Because those things that you said in the beginning of the hearing is actually the first time that publicly we're hearing that come from you, right? So that's important for me to hear. So, and is there anything else? I mean, there's other board members may have questions for you, but is there anything else that we have not covered today that your attorney, you or your attorney will get the opportunity later, but that you wanted to cover before I turn the questions over to other board members?
No.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. So, Mr. Therian, with your work and your study of psychology, do you appreciate the importance of language and the meaning of words?
Yes.
I do as well. I put a lot of value in how someone expresses themselves. And while I appreciate was he pled for his life that you not kill him, take the car. The one standout in this situation is that when you were apprehended by the police, you did tell them that the victim was dead on the bed in the place where you were staying. So that was the one. You didn't take it to trial because you had made a full confession. When you were asked by my colleague about why you committed this crime, you said confused. I need you to unpack that for me.
I explained in detail what my state of mind was at the time of the crime in my autobiography. And I let my autobiography stand for itself. I'm not here to reiterate elements, what exactly happened.
Okay, so the confusion was, again, harkening back to the victim agreed to you putting the bandana and pulling it tight around her neck? That caused you confusion, that she wanted it?
Perhaps I just should have said, instead of confused, had trouble making decisions that were adequate and appropriate at the time.
It was interesting to have you tell my colleague that you were under the influence, because at sentencing, the judge specifically asked you if you have a drug problem. And you said, I have nothing to say about using drugs at this time. So when you were interviewed by Parole Officer Wangertsman and asked to identify high risk, you said substance abuse. And your answer to her plan of how you're going to manage that was to stay away from it. And that hardly seems adequate if your substance abuse in a trouble with making decisions situation resulting in you taking the life of another person. And you said to us twice that you don't plan to commit any crimes if you were released. Did you plan to commit this crime? I know you planned to commit the robbery, but did you plan to commit the murder?
That question is answered in my autobiography.
Ms. Chance, any questions for Mr. Therian?
I just have one or two. So, Mr. Therian, throughout all the documents that Madam Chair identified, which I reviewed, at no time did you express any genuine remorse for the victim. Why today?
To my recollection, that every time I appeared at a parole hearing, I started it with expressing my remorse. Did you people look at the tapes of the past hearings?
We have the documents of the hearing. But for me, and the reason I asked that is because later on down, even though you, when you were caught at the chase, you confessed to the murder of the 15-year-old. But then later on, you stated, I'm not guilty of killing the victim. So when did you decide or figure out for killing the victim?
My recollection is I've expressed such at every parole hearing
Okay, so going back to your interview with Parole Officer Wendy Smith, why was it so difficult for you to answer her questions?
I told her why, because parole board doesn't. If the real facts of the case don't express full responsibility for the crime, the parole board doesn't want to hear that. Parole board, from my understanding, only grants parole to people who accept full responsibility of the crime.
So, if you couldn't answer, why are you saying that you're expressing such remorse today?
Because irregardless of the mitigating circumstances in my autobiography, I still feel bad about taking another individual's life. That doesn't diminish whether or not there was other factors that it could explain my behavior led to the loss of life.
So, do you think the psychology courses that you've taken over a period of several years was able to satisfy you that your previous list of sets of circumstances and people who you previously blamed, did you learn from any of those courses that you can't blame those people?
The courses helped me to understand my state of mind at the time of the crime and helped me to understand when I came out of repression as to child sexual abuse in the resulting disassociation disorder that put me in a position to be very suggestive to other people that were relevant to the murder of the victim. It made me understand and come to terms with the disorder. And I believe that by acknowledging the abuse and the disorder, I know I'm not susceptible to other people's demands and requests. I read somewhere recently that one of the reasons why this youth hearing took place is because people from 25 and under, generally speaking, don't have mature brains and they're more susceptible to peer pressure. When, in my case, when you complicate that with a then ongoing disorder in the intentions of other people at the scene of the murder, then what the gentleman was asking for, you know, I said I couldn't tell. He said, he asked me a question, something to the effect, how do you explain the psychological inability to make the right decisions back then? Well, it's based in part, in addition to the age, substance abuse, a disorder that was well aware of by other people and was manipulated by them. It's my fault. Everything that transpired in my autobiography that led up to the death of the victim is my fault, and respect that I made this stupid ass decision to move into a house of Luciferians. I was raised as a Catholic, and the Bible says don't enter the house of Satan. At the time I was an atheist. I believed that my frame of mind was I didn't care if they worshiped Jesus Christ, Muhammad, or Lucifer, as long as they didn't push their religion on me. But my response should have been, thanks, but no thanks.
What do you think DOC could have done for you that they haven't done?
Well, they could have provided me with competent mental health professionals instead of a sex cult parading as mental health professionals. The whole DOC Summers mental health staff ain't nothing but they were back in '79, were nothing but a bunch of sexual predators parading as mental health professionals.
But Mr. Arian, I'm going to stop you there because that is your opinion. Okay? And your opinion doesn't mean that it's what you're saying. Because DOC is a facility that provides care, but it also has to do with where you have met the DOC staff, what you're willing to say. And the fact that you could not answer quite a few of the parole officers' questions during the interview had just issues with DOC staff, and you were blaming them. So, like my two colleagues, I am very concerned about your lack of response. I appreciate the fact that, you know, today you're accepting responsibility for the death of this 15-year-old, but you have expressed it before, but for me, not in a genuine way. And I'm concerned that you have not taken any programs. And programs is a way to measure people's change. So I have no further questions for you, but thank you for answering mine. Here.
At this time, we will turn the hearing over to Ms. Hamlet Williams to facilitate victim input. Mr. Therian, you're asked not to interrupt or speak during this time.
Thank you. You may begin with your statement.
Yes. I never heard him say I'm sorry to the family, but I forgive him for that. But my other family not forgive for that. Why my daughter, my sister, lay on the ground dead when he was up walking, breathing, and while she was carrying the baby and she was pregnant at the time, and my mother and me had to go to the psychiatrist for all the power after lost my sister, lost her daughter. And my father is still alive. My mother passed away of cancer, and in her mind, she's still, but she's in back. He took her life. You know, he couldn't walk away. And I think that according to the paper, he was on not just pot, but on cocaine too. According to the paper, he was on high drugs. Plus, I heard that about back in 1978, that time. But I never heard him say sorry. Now, if I heard him say sorry about that, I can forgive about that. But my family not gonna forgive about that. While she's laying on the ground, he's wasn't breathing. She's not, and you can't bring my sister back. You know, and she was pregnant also, 3 months pregnant at the time, and but it can happen again if he was released. It can happen to other family. You know, it might happen to other family too, and I'm scared about that. You know, and he couldn't commit that. He shouldn't commit that crime. He should have walked away and forget about that. But he was on drugs and other things. So that's my statement.
Thank you so much for your statement. Thank you, panel.
Yeah.
You may mute back at this time.
Yeah. Yeah. My father cannot talk because he's got cancer and he's not feeling good. My mother's deceased. If she was alive, she would give her statement. I'm the only one to take over because I'm the only child left. And I think forgive him about saying sorry, and I've heard him say that before, and also he come to the senses. But I don't think he should be out there. He might have to happen to other family too, also. And he could walk away. So that's my statement. Yeah.
Thank you. If you can mute your phone again, that would be great, and you can continue to listen.
Okay, I'm sure I can find my mute. Hold on, man.
Thank you. Thank you, panel.
Okay. Yep.
Each of at this time, I believe we only have one attorney present. The other is attorney. State attorney Arducci was supposed to be present. The attorney Arducci present on the record. No, I don't believe so. So we will proceed with Mr. Darian's attorney. Attorney Foreman, if you have any final remarks or statements you would like to make, you may do so right now.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, members of the board. Thank you for taking the time to hear from us today. Before I speak about Stephen, I want to take this time to acknowledge the loss and the lasting harm that he has caused, not only the family, but the victim, as you guys just heard. He understands that nothing he does now can undo that harm. And nothing said today is meant to minimize that in any way. But the person you're considering here today is not the same 19-year-old who committed those crimes. He's spent the last few months that I've spent getting to know him. He has opened up. You guys kind of saw a bit of that today when he was speaking. That is the version I've seen in my interactions with Mr. Darian. So the limited opportunities available to him, he earned his GED, he's held various jobs while incarcerated, and he's done that all in his own initiative. He practiced his Siddha yoga that he spoke about at length for the last 15 years. And that is something that is important to him and something that he plans to do indefinitely to kind of keep himself grounded. The progress that he's made has been somewhat held back, not by his lack of motivation, but by the lack of access. I won't rehash the program's issues that he kind of spoke about with the mental health rating. But it's partly due to his life sentence, yes, partly due to the DRs, but he's spent over a decade on wait lists for several of these programs that the board has encouraged him to get into. So I would just say that it would be the facilities such as the January Center mentioned in my supporting memorandum were not to imply that they have that the community-based recommendation is in any way to imply that they have a say, but rather options if he were released today in the community that could still provide that kind of supervised care, in addition to some of the sex offender treatment, mental health treatment that he desperately needs in order to ever be in society fully as an adult. Now he spent over 47 years incarcerated. That's most of his adult life. This would be an opportunity, if released today, to spend the remainder of his adult life on the outside, right, in society, still under supervised care. And we thank you for your time, for speaking with us today, for considering his request for parole to a community-based treatment facility or whatever else the board deems necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Foreman. I think part of the concern that my colleague was raising in your document was you're urging the board to direct an evaluation for a referral to those two programs, and that is not a role that we play. So at this point, we're going to discuss your case, Mr. Darian. So give us just a few minutes and please don't interrupt. Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the reason why we're here today is a 23-169. It involves reduced culpability based on age. I can't find that. It's I've seen acts of impulse and things like that in other 1584, 23-169 hearings. But to actually point to something that shows that age played a factor in this offense, I don't have anything. So even to go beyond that with looking at suitability, I have a really hard time with the statement that, quote, the parole board wants to hear whatever it is that we want to hear. We're dealing with somebody who committed a murder by strangulation. So there was, it wasn't a bullet. It was a thought out act of what we're going to do here. And then, we're talking about somebody who came to prison, put together 50 disciplinary reports. As of recently, they've appeared to decline some, but they're still there. I believe some of that stood in the way of his ability to take programming. However, he's been at facilities that have alternate to violence, both basic and advanced.
Or anger management.
Right.
Which would have addressed the 8 assault tickets, the, what was it, 9 or 11 fighting tickets?
But AVP in itself, I need to sign up with DOC and get called for the program. AVP is people come into the prison on the weekend and put on the program that's open to people who request to do that. And we're dealing with relation to death, and alternatives to violence is like something that's really important to this, And what you just said about anger management, and there's other programs DOC related beyond violence, right? It's just not enough for me to, and kudos to him, GED and an associate's degree, that's a great thing to happen. But to suggest that the small groups that were related to psychology courses is enough to give me what I need to look at suitability, which means that I believe he can go out into the community and not commit this or some other kind of offense again. Versus public safety, and it's, this is where I have an issue. And the other piece of this, this autobiography piece, no. You come into a parole hearing and you come in with an honest statement about yourself, not something that you wrote at length that you could have done whatever way, but something where I can actually hear you, discuss what you've been through. I can appreciate that the Siddha Yoga, the philosophy that's there, and I can appreciate the fact that he's taken and engaged in that for the last 14 years. But then again, we're coming back to, at the end, the satanic, so responsibility all over the place. So,
and I listened to him describe the philosophy and the underpinnings of this practice, and yet while he was practicing, he was getting fighting DRs. And when asked about those, he blames DOC with a whole conspiracy theory that they are trying to trigger him, not only by putting other inmates in his cell that he might have conflict with, but as far as to suggest that they are taking those individuals off their medication to provoke him is a bit far-fetched. And that's an investigation.
So, yeah. So, Madam Chair, so where I am is that I'm not in favor of, I can't find him less culpable based upon age, and I can't find him suitable for parole. I know that based on his late sentence, he would come back in 5 years. And in that 5 years, I would highly suggest, because he's going to come back and see us when he's 71. And I would highly suggest, or not necessarily, let me take that back. It's going to be reviewed.
Yes, thank you. It's an administrative review.
Reviewed to see if the board wants to see him when he's 71. And what I really like to be able to see is him engaging in programming. That is the type of programming that we can look at for change. I mean, and he's at, the facility that he's at, in the level that he's at, I'm sure that there's hope that he can take, that he can advocate for himself, that maybe even the attorney could help him advocate for himself to be able to take that kind of program. So, but for me, Madam Chair, I don't have what I need to support a grant in a 23-169.
What stands out for me of particular concern is the release plan. To have Mr. Therian identify that substance abuse would be high risk, and not have a plan having completed some programming to mitigate that risk when he's back out in the community, but instead, to say he plans to stay away from drugs, I think is pretty naive, especially coupled with his comments about peer pressure, people manipulating him, people, see if I can get his words, exploiting, my word, his ongoing disorder, his words. Some of the things that we've heard today concern me in terms of the state of his mental health and what his plan is to manage the disorder he referred to, and life going forward, given his vulnerabilities and susceptible is what he said. So just to think that he does not plan to commit any crimes if he's released gives me absolutely no reassurance. I don't think there's a person that would sit in the chair he's sitting in that wouldn't say the same thing, and it's honestly, it's meaningless, especially if his plan isn't robust enough to address the risks that he really does face. So I would agree with you, Mr. Poland. Do not find Mr. Therian suitable for parole release this chance.
So I absolutely agree with what you, Madam Chair, and Ms. Poe has indicated today. I just want to add, he keeps referencing his autobiography in not answering the parole officer's question, not answering some of our questions today, but keep referring to it. But the autobiography concerns the fact that he's blaming several different entities and people for what's going on with him. And for me, he has not addressed that. He continuously blames the OC. I know I read where he was previously participating in a substance abuse program, but stopped because he had issues with the OC staff. So for me today, I also do not find him suitable.
So I would be looking at nature and circumstance, injury and impact, and poor institutional adjustment. An adequate release plan is certainly something I spoke to.
I have inadequate program participation, I have inadequate evidence of change.
I had those two. And the nature.
I'm open to whatever it is, you know, but those, I mean, that's in my remarks, that's absolutely large.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have received an email communication from State's Attorney Narducci. He has been watching the hearing and says he agrees with the board's position. My impression is that Mr. Therian lacks insight into the consequences of his actions and was only expressing what he believes the board wanted to hear. So, in the matter of Stephen Therian, inmate number 071590, there's a motion to deny parole for the following reasons: the nature and circumstances of your offenses, the injury and impact caused to the victim and the victim's family, your poor institutional adjustment, your inadequate program participation or change. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So it's a unanimous decision, Mr. Therian.
Madam Chair, this will be reviewed again in 5 years.
There will be an administrative review in the year 2030.
Thank you all. This concludes the Public Act 23-169 hearing for Stephen Therian, inmate number 071590, and it is 10:10 a.m. Thank you, guys. We will reconvene for the next case at 10:30.
Sorry to have wasted all your time.
Okay, and it was a denial, and it will be another 5 years, 2030, until they have an administrative review. Basically, they'll just get a notification on their calendar. They'll say, this case, should we have a parole hearing for him? And I guess, if I had to guess, it would depend on what comes. So they see he took an anger management or something, like he did some work, then they'll give him another bite at the apple and maybe even parole him. But I don't have information to share on this case. I actually asked Sir Richard, can you come out of retirement and see if there's any way to find this autobiography? Because I would love to read it to you, but no, it's not there. I mean, it's not. I mean, let's be real. What are the odds that he somehow got it published? But the whole hearing was just wild. And what was most wild, again, if you're familiar with Mike Pohl is he wears the rose-colored glasses to a
I don't even need parole. I just have. I would just like to wait.
hearing out of the state of Connecticut for a genuine man baby. And it is interesting to see this man baby in action. The immaturity is absolutely outstanding. And not to mention, it's like the way that he just yells at you got to see it. You're going to have to see it to believe it. Now, his full term date is 11/25/2026. So he's got a year riding on this. Do you think that they're going to parole him, or are they going to just let him out? Now, he hasn't been Prince Charming while locked up. He actually has a fighting ticket. It seems that he actually docked over one of the COs, although he insists it was by mistake. I mean, I guess you got to give him credit if he does bark and bite while in prison. Maybe he's not just like one of those bullies that only pick on people half his own size. I don't know. Anyways, let's go see how this pans out.
Did you write a statement that you want to read to us?
I did.
Have it out and ready, please.
We're ready to start. It's kind of long. I don't know if you guys. I don't know.
Oh, no. Short and sweet is good. We're not ready for it yet. It looks way too long.
Good afternoon. My name is Parole Officer Renard. Today is Friday, November 14th, 2025, and this is the hearing of the board. Following board members are present this afternoon by stating their names on our records, reviewing all statutorily required documents, and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Nancy Turner, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Alex Dykoff.
Councilmember Berry, document, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Montenegro.
Hold on. Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Brian Montenegro, 427780.
He's serving this hearing is being conducted in consideration of the full application for Brian Montenegro, inmate number 427780. He is serving a sentence of 2.5 years jail, last sentence for violation of probation with the underlying offense of violation of protective order and failure to appear first. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date, August 26, 2025. There's no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan. It has been reviewed. It shows the offender has not completed any programs. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls very high range of risk number 6. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you should be granted parole. You may begin.
I actually did complete programs. I just completed a program Wednesday. I completed Voices program. And I'm in school, and that's what I'm doing. So I would like to read.
We want you to focus, Mr. Montenegro, on the question that was put to you, which is why do you believe you deserve? We've read all about your background.
I think I deserve parole because I've been on my best behavior. I've been doing really good, and I have good intentions when I come home. I really want to get my life together. I want to recover, and I like to work, stay in my own place.
Okay, those are why you want parole. We're asking you why you deserve it. What have you done while you're incarcerated to prepare yourself to be successful in the community?
I've been to some programs. I've been doing good in school.
Okay.
And I've changed a lot from before how I used to be. I've grown. I've really matured.
Great.
I've learned to self-control. I learned to dedicate myself, to be committed to be on my best behavior, doing what I have to do. That's
okay. All right, so we're going to ask you questions based on the documents that were available to us to read. And then we will discuss your case and make a decision and share that with you today. You ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, panel member Berry will begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Mr. Montenegro, I appreciate your opening remarks. Those are our desires for you as well. We want you to return to the community. We want you to be successful, which is why you're incarcerated. And they provide different program tools that you did not receive when you were out in the community. I'm glad to hear that you're in school. What subject are you currently studying?
I'm currently studying language arts. I was supposed to have a test completed. I already completed 2 tests for my GED. I was supposed to complete this test, but we've been on lockdown, so it's pushed back for next week. I'm pretty sure I'll pass that test and only have math left over, but I'm focused on language arts right now. I'm really confident I'll pass my next test.
Why do you think that you are working on getting your GED at 23 instead of doing it when you had an opportunity years ago?
Because I was on medication before that used to make me very, very tired, but I didn't think I needed a GED. But as I got older, I seen that it could be really helpful. Before I used to think I did not need a GED. I would work. I thought working in jobs that really don't need a diploma. But as I got older, I learned that I do need a GED. That a GED will be helpful to get a better job.
I mean, honestly, I look at you and your age, and it's like you really should be, instead of in prison, you should be graduating from college or going to graduate school or something to better yourself. Instead, you're backpedaling because you didn't make the best choices. I want to talk to you a little bit about your offenses, because you were out on probation for violation. I want to know why the protective order was put in place.
The protective order was put in place because when I was younger, I used to smoke, and my mother didn't like me to be in the house around my younger siblings, eating marijuana, around the smell of marijuana, or smell like marijuana, or doing any marijuana around the house. So she was very upset. She asked the juvenile courts, what can she do about this? And they recommended a protective order where I have to follow house rules.
So your parents can't request protective orders because their children don't do what they say. Were you violent? Did you display any violence while under the influence?
No, I was never violent. None of my protective orders I did. I was never violent.
Okay, did you have an opportunity to read any of your police reports, sir?
Yes.
Okay, because you were violent. Even when the officer was trying to apprehend you for your current case right now, you were fighting them. You made the officer fall.
Oh no, I thought you was talking about when I violated my protective orders.
No. So let me back you up. So I asked you why the protective order was in place. You told me that your mother went to juvenile detention and asked them to put the protective order in place because you were smoking marijuana. And I said to you,
I said it was recommended by a probation officer. I was involved in the juvenile court. A probation officer recommended this. My mother didn't ask for it. She didn't even know what this was. But I thought what you was asking is how I didn't violate my way.
So Mr. Montenegro, listen to the questions, okay? Because I'm very specific. So when we first started our discussion, I said to you, why was the protective order put in place? And you said to me that your mother did not like you smoking marijuana around your younger siblings. You went to juvenile detention and asked them to put the order in place. That is what you told me. So then when I asked you, what did you violate while you were using this marijuana? You told me that you had not. You never have been violent.
I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
Okay. So the protective order was put in place because you were involved with prior juvenile delinquency or some juvenile actions. Did you ever, were you assaulted? Were you angry? If there is a reason why they put a protective order is to protect people who believe that they will be harmed in some way. So there's a difference. So when a protective order indicates that there's some level of violence.
Yes. No, I used to like, sometimes I would pawn my belongings, and she would not like that. I would sometimes take her car, and she would not like that. That's about it. What I could say. She used to ask help because I was not following house rules. I was young at the time. I was young at the time. Yes.
Oh, you still are.
This is all things. This is all things I do not do anymore. I've learned from that. I've grown. I'm mature. My own mother will tell you I do not do none of this no more.
So I'm asking you about your level of violence, sir, because in both these instances where you violated your probation, you were argumentative, you were combative, you were walking down the street and under the influence after a motor vehicle accident, and yet you make yourself out to somehow be the victim of your crimes. And I'm trying to understand the rationale, because if you're not a violent person, I'm not sure why you keep finding yourself in these situations where you're being arrested because you're unable to control your emotions. That was a question.
Well, it depends on what situation you're talking about. Are you talking about my last arrest? The arrest that I violated probation with? Yes, so I believe there was no, I believe like, I knew I was on probation. I knew if I got arrested, I would do time. But I believe like when they was arresting me, I didn't understand why. I told them why. I didn't do nothing. I was the one getting assaulted. I was the one getting beat up. So I knew like if it was over, like I was gonna do time. So I asked them, why am I getting arrested? Why am I getting arrested? There's no reason why I should be getting arrested. And they was trying to hit me with assault an officer, but I was gonna fight that all the way because I did not assault no officer. And these charges were dropped because.
Okay, the charges may have been reduced to something else, but that does not negate the behavior, sir. Did you fall when the officer was trying to put you in handcuffs? Did the two of you fall? Yes or no?
Yeah, yes,
okay.
We did fall together.
Do you think that he would have fallen if you would have let him put the handcuffs on you? That's a yes or no? That's not a difficult question, Mr. Martinero.
I was resistant. I do regret it. Yes. I should have been more compliant. I do regret this. I should have been more compliant.
I think that there seems to be some sort of disconnect in between what you believe to be the truth, sir, and what actually transpired with these convictions. I have to be honest with you in that, I know that you were using marijuana, you just told us that, and that in the motor vehicle accident, you were under the influence of alcohol, and you have yet to address any of that since you've been in the facility. And you couple the lack of programming to address your substance abuse needs along with your disciplinary infraction for fighting, which shows it's a demonstration of continued violence, sir, and you haven't taken any programs to really combat those behaviors. So it's very concerning when you sit here before us and you're requesting early release or consideration for early release, but you haven't really shown us that you're able to comply when you're required to.
Yes, but if you look at my tickets, you will see a big difference. I used to have so many fighting tickets in my last time when I did 2.5 years. And this time, yes, I do. Yes, and this time.
But I asked him about violence, if he was violent, and he said that he wasn't. So I'm confused, Mr. Montenegro. I'm confused.
I admit I was a violent person, and that's what I'm saying. I've changed, and you can see that just from my ticket history. My ticket history, I used to have a lot of fights in my last bit. I did make one mistake. I do have one ticket this time, and I'm very sorry for it. I'm sorry to myself too, because I do regret it, and I apologize.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your acceptance of responsibility and your.
But I've been doing so much better. I've been throwing my pride away. I've been doing so good. Like so much good. I've been controlling my anger, controlling myself. I've been really. I've been doing it on my own. I've been doing really good.
Okay. So I don't want to negate any of the efforts, sir, that you have made to turn your life around. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it hasn't been demonstrated long enough for me to believe that you are going to return to the community and not be in any more trouble. So there's still work to do on yourself.
Yes, but this was not on my OAP. If this was on my OAP, if somebody told me this earlier, I would have this program completed by now.
All right, thank
Nobody
you.
told me that I was supposed to have this, this, or had a problem like this. I didn't think about that. I think I've seen that I've grown. I've seen that I've changed. That's what I.
Well, you have to see things from my perspective. Yes. All I see is what I have here on paper. And not to discredit you, but I have to go based on what I'm reviewing. And while I would love to believe that, you've changed a whole lot, I don't know you, I'm not in there with you, but just reviewing it's not risen to a level that would demonstrate to me that you're ready to return to the community and be a law-abiding, contributing member. So, I mean, you have to look at things from our perspective. We have to go based on what you've done and what you've shown us. And I hope that you continue to work on yourself, because we all need to do that. So improvement, right?
Yeah. I was going to work on myself.
Okay. Mr. Sofra.
Mr. Montenegro, I want to ask you about something that you wrote about to the parole officer about addiction services program on your OAP.
Yes.
And you wrote several letters about that. At one point you said that you exaggerated your drug addiction in the past to get a GRI bad.
Yes.
Truthfully, you're not addicted to any drug.
No.
You also said you lied to the courts and DOC to get to the GRI program.
Yes.
So, do you understand how it's problematic lying about your addiction issues?
Yes, this was when I first got arrested. When I first did time, I lied and told him I do drugs that I don't do because I wanted to get to jail.
Do you understand why that's a problem?
I lied.
Yeah, what are the consequences of that?
They had to make me do programs, and that's what people said. But
that's right. The record is going to follow you, right? If you say you have addiction issues, we're not drug and alcohol counselors. There's a record of that already, right? And so that's going to follow you. Another consequence is that you may be taking the program away from somebody who actually needs it.
Yeah.
Right? So do you need an addiction services program or not at this point?
I don't. Because I don't smoke. I won't smoke no more marijuana. I don't do none of the drugs. I said I don't need no program. If you guys want me to assist it, I will assist it. But at this point, I don't know why I have to depend my life. What I have to prove to you guys. When I say I've been doing better, I've been doing better. I've been doing good. If you guys don't want to see that, you go against me. It's not gonna change nothing. I'm still gonna come home. I'm conditioned parole. I do programs. I do everything I'm supposed to. So you guys are trying to keep pushing me back. I don't even need parole. I just like to waive parole and halfway because this is very upsetting. When I keep hearing this, like you guys are going against me, it's upsetting. I guess.
nobody's against you. The best case scenario is for you to never come back into prison. You want, that's what I'm sure other panel members want.
I truly believe I'll come back. I should have never took my first offer, 2.5 years, 10 years on my head, 5 years probation. I should have never took that offer. They took advantage of me because I was young. I did not know about my rights. I did not know about my laws. This is why I'm in this predicament right now. I would have never been here right now. I know what I have to do. Every time I learn, as time passes by, I learn more and more. I fix more and more areas as my life continues. All the stuff that I used to do when I was young, steal, rob, bring to cars, everything. I don't do none of that no more. Fighting, I don't do none of that. I really been changing. I'm smart enough to know what I need to change. I want to be successful. I want to be a good person. I want to have something in life. I want to have my own family, my things. I don't know. I got some sense in me, but as soon as I told you guys, the first lady, she's already going against me. She's already making it seem like I'm a problem. But at this point, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter no more. At this point, it doesn't matter no more. I'll continue to be good. I don't need to depend on you guys. I'll halfway. If I have to halfway, I'm gonna wait for halfway. I'll still make it there. Why would I make it there? I've been doing good. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do in jail, and I'm staying on my best behavior.
All right. Well, thank you for answering my questions.
Certainly. So, parole isn't a cakewalk. You know, it's not a given. It's a privilege, not a right. And we have a responsibility to the public to protect public safety. And that's why we ask you these questions, because you can sit here and tell us that you're matured and you're changed. We need to explore that with you so that we can come to our own. You've grown and changed. So here's a couple of points.
Angry. He's got some rage. He's got to work on himself. He's got to do something. And I wish, it was nice. The World Board did, smack him around a little bit. They denied him. I almost wish they would have paroled him because I know we would see him again and it would make a good return of segment, his revocation hearing and everything. But what is he? He's 25.